Welcome back to Crepe Myrtle Journals. I wanted to show you a flip through of my 23rd journal. It is a short one, a small one, in that it's not many pages. It's about 30 pages, I think. But it is an old file folder, and I just love recently to take old file folders and just sew pages into them, and you can fold 8.5 by 11 pages in half to fit in a file folder perfectly. Of course, it holds 8.5 by 11 pages, but if you fold it in half, then you can fold the rest of the file folder around it like a portfolio, practically. So that's what I did. I just folded and then turned this file folder into a cover. I attached one grommet and put in a ribbon, but you can see that the file folder is just covered with rubber stamps. And these are my homemade rubber stamps. I show you in another video how I make homemade rubber stamps. And I just covered this entire folder with my rubber stamps. And I tried to kind of go along the line of symmetry there to make birds on either side, flowers on either side, or things on the center like the bee and the big rose. But this was one experiment, and I thought afterwards, well, I can turn that into a journal cover. So that's what the cover is. I can gently turn that back around. And I just fold the cover in to make flaps. So when I fold them out, I've got a pocket in the front, one signature, a pocket in the back, and here's the back flap that folds around the whole journal. So I've used some old papers to make the lining of the inside. And in the very front pocket, I've got my little business card for Crepe Myrtle Journals, a book plate, my 23 receipt because this is my 23rd journal. And then here's one of my miniatures. It's a miniature coffee cup journaling card. And I have a tutorial where I show you how to make these. Make your own template or stencil so you can make as many as you want. And in this one's actually smaller than the one I did in my tutorial. But you can make a variety of sizes if you make your own templates, or even just freehand cut them out. But I left this, the sleeve that you hold on to your cup so you don't burn your hands, I left that open so you could slide in this tiny tag, which is just an old label, an old piece of paper. So that is the little coffee cup in the front pocket. So it's one signature, and I think it's about 15 pages folded over, so it ends up being 30 pages. But this is coffee dyed paper, and I think this was a very large size paper from like a pad of drawing paper. So it's not super heavy, but it's a little heavier than copy paper. So it's very long, so I was able to fold that. So it has a flip out. And this is some of my homemade stamps, strawberries, and some of these are also commercial stamps, but the leaves and the strawberries and little flower are mine. And here's another one of my miniature clipboards, and this one has the word notes on the back. I have a tutorial on that miniature as well. They're really short tutorials of how to make your own miniature unique ephemera. So this is leaf rubbings that I did with my boys. I have two sons who are now grown up, but I homeschooled them for a few years, and some of our art projects in the summer I still have examples of, but this is leaf rubbings that we did, and I found them recently. I mean, this is like 15 years ago or more, and I found them recently in an old letter, and I thought, well, I'll just gently tear those out and use them for decoration in a journal because they're really cool looking. Another pocket, an old gardening book, old dictionary. These are my own drawings of linens because I didn't have access to scans of linens when I first started journaling, so I really liked the way they looked. So I drew my own like faux linens, and even though they're still rustic looking, I saved them and shrink them down and use them like labels. So I thought they looked good, a little trio here. This is paper that I dyed using tie-dye ink that I got at a garage sale or thrift store. Little pocket, piece of notebook paper, regular lined notebook paper, piece of music paper. This, I punched a couple of holes in the top to lace a bow through. Then I put a dot of glue right there on the knot, hoping that would stay. This is from chocolate. Someone gave me some chocolate, I think from Honduras. and I just kept, I like the little, the curved flap on it. This is paper that I just ran a stencil over. Coffee dyed paper, I roughed up the edges a little bit. Here's an actual linen that someone has scanned. I think this is Little Bindi on Etsy. I bought her scans of linens. And you can shrink them as small as you want to make labels, or as big as you want to make journaling cards and things to write on. So that's a lot of fun. So that's just a little belly band that you can tuck stuff in. I used this fabric. I cut it with pinking shears to make a little top of that paper clip. This is some more paper that I dyed using tie-dye ink, and I just absolutely love the color and how that turned out. And I've almost used up all that paper, so I need to have another session. This was a stamp that my mother gave me many, many years ago, and I just kept, it's one of the ones I've kept and used the most. Here's a small envelope made like Franken pages, where you stitch together, you glue together scrap paper and stitch it together. And this was an idea I got from Corey Dahman, and she might have gotten the idea from someone else, but this little envelope is full of some goodies and some postage stamps. Little top tuck. This is a paper ruffle made with the top of a legal pad. When the legal pad was used up, the top section where a hole punch was just had this, you know, a fat packet of strips that was the top of the paper. So I pulled that off and just ran all the strips through my sewing machine until I had a nice roll of paper ruffles. This is, I used this template to cut a bird out of this hand-typed letter from the past, and then used the, I guess, the negative space here. I should have probably used the negative space on a darker color background to show up, but I still thought it looked neat. There's a pocket. Oh, I love these. They're faux stems. They're not real dried flowers, but my son and daughter-in-law gave me this little packet of stems and for my birthday. And I think it was a year ago, but I have slowly used them one by one in journals, and they still just bring me joy when I use them. When I pull one out, I think of them and how much fun it was to open that little packet of stems. This prompt says a shady nook. And this is song says something blue Danube, probably beautiful blue Danube. And I smeared some blue on there since it's blue. Here's a pocket or a tuck spot. This is from Wallpaper. But this is some more of that blue dyed paper. And I really, really think that's so beautiful. I want a whole pad of this blue dyed paper where it's kind of mottled in different shades, and purple kind of comes out and a little greenish. But I need to get in the backyard and make some more, especially while it's still warm. It's September and it's still hot in Arkansas, so it would dry quick out in the yard. Here's the actual cutout of that bird. This is another miniature idea, is just to make your own template and then cut out over and over the design you like, ink the edges, and I just think that looks so beautiful. Here's a little tuck that has a playing card and some other bits in there. I used some small rubber stamp to just do 3 in a row here on the edge. Half of a butterfly here, or it might be a moth. And on the last page, this is the other half of that one that folds out. I put my own little watercolor bird that I painted about 4 years ago, and my husband said, that is so cute, you should put that in every journal. So I do. I try to put it in every journal. And this is actually scanned from the book where I actually used that little watercolor. In my very first journal, which I have a flip through here on my channel, this is actually from my very first journal, and it is on the outside of an envelope, and so I've written all around it. So when I scanned it, I tried to blur my writing, and anyway, it's a lot of fun to reuse favorite elements, especially if they're your own. And this is my own rubber stamp. I don't know what you call it. It's like a little sheaf of wheat or something, but I have a big one and a small one, and they're stylized. You know, they're not symmetrical or perfect. They're just kind of free flow. But it makes me think of fleur-de-lis. I know it's not the same design, but it has that feel of being kind of like an old design. But I just stamped it across the page, and I think it bled through, which was kind of interesting. Bled through on the other side and made the other side look designed as well. Then the back pocket has one of my miniature file folders. And you know what? This file folder, I did the same thing that I did to this cover. I just covered it with my own rubber stamps. And this was the very last bit of that file folder. But you can see I turned an old file folder into a tiny file folder, and it has a tiny paper clip and some goodies pinned into it. And that little file folder goes here, and just the hole punch and grommet on the back as a closure. Let me see if I can fold this back into itself like a pocket knife. And then I thought I'd give you a couple of tips. Oh, I'm going to make another one of these. This is my 23rd journal, and I have in the works my 24th journal. At the time that I made this file folder, I did probably 5 or 6 file folders, you know, successively, stamping them, trying to, they were like experiments where I was trying to make some beautiful paper design. So here's the one that I'm about to turn this into my 24th journal. And here you can see the design is a different color scheme. And I used much blacker ink for the bees, and you can see the little footprints, birdie prints. But this one is getting ready to be filled with some long papers and lined with some old, this is an old packet of papers I found at an estate sale where the person was handwriting their songs. And they may have actually been variations on songs, like they rewrote, it says arranged by and this person's name. But it's neat because you can see that it's in pencil. They have actually written on here their variation of this song. And here's some copies of them doing the same thing. These copies were just, I tried to actually rubber stamp on these, and I think the paper is so, I don't know if it was stored somewhere where it got hot, but it is very difficult. Or maybe it's like a heat affected paper. It says Gavert on the back. I don't even know what that means, but it's just interesting paper. It won't take ink very well when I try to rubber stamp on it. It kind of bleeds on it instead of being absorbed into the paper. It's almost like it has a coating. This not. It's like the dark ones do. Maybe they're, like I was saying, maybe they have some kind of heat property that I don't know about. All paper is so different and so interesting. Okay, so that's a journal in the work that I think I'll do that on camera and do an episode about just putting the pages in that long journal. But here's an idea. You put a paper down sometimes to protect your work, and after 6 months it looks like this. And one idea is just to use that as fodder for collage. This has some matte medium on it, so it might be, well, actually it still looks kind of cool, but it has a scruffy texture. But here's where I was practicing with my little bird feet rubber stamp. And here's where I was practicing lettering, and most of it did not look good, but I thought, well, there's some words here that look kind of neat, so maybe those would look cool in a collage. So save your, like you're catching, when you're catching your ink and your messes, save that paper for collage. And I know people have done that before, but sometimes I literally go in and add things. You know, if I decide that I really want to add some script, I'll just go in and add some script, or just a letter. A single letter looks cool, or a few words. Like here I wrote Alte Schulstrasse because it was the name of a street I lived on as a kid in Germany. And Mühlwiesenstrasse was another street we lived on. Siempre, I just write some things in Spanish. Esperanza, which means hope in Spanish. It's kind of fun. Immer means always in German. So keep those as fodder for collage. And here I started my fresh one. I've been playing with lettering. I have these brush pens and I really didn't know how to use them. I have calligraphy pens, which I've used for years. So, you know, I know how to keep that on the angle so that you have thick and thin lines. But I do not know how to do brush lettering. And I just learned a couple of techniques, so I thought I'd practice. But as I was doing it, I thought this would look really neat on collage. So I thought I'll just fill up a background page with big and small sized fonts and play around with it, and that experiment can be fodder for more collage. Another tip is save your packaging, especially if it's interesting looking. I know this is not new to save your packaging, but I just simply turned this hole punch that I just bought, this packaging, into a journaling card. It doesn't have to be decorated in any way because the sketch of the hole punch is cool. The hole punch that I had was not cutting out neat circles anymore. It seems like a hole punch will last forever, but it wasn't cutting out neat circles. It was catching and not completely cutting. So I got a new hole punch, and I really enjoyed the lettering and the sketch of the hole punch on the packaging. So I thought I would just, I added some dots on it and a hole reinforcer, and I take white paper hole reinforcers and just color them. Here I was trying to play with some grungy gold ink, and then I make my own reinforcers as well, but this is awfully easy just to paint these white ones. And then when you're done with the hole punch reinforcers, this also makes a good stenciling background, so I stenciled some holes there because it has kind of a plasticky texture because stickers were stuck to it. So it makes a great stencil. So hold on to those for stencils too. There's ideas everywhere, and as you enjoy junk journaling, you will find ideas all around you. Let's see, was there another tip? Oh, I was going to do another show and tell of what I've been up to lately, and that is, I may have already set it aside. Okay, I'll have to save that for next time. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this quick flip through of my 23rd journal. Thank you.